It's game time!
Hey you guys, how are you doing? Since I had a blast making the last PS4 Hidden Gems video, I decided to go in for another round. And you all know what that means. Grab yourself some pizza, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's get the kick out of gaming. As always, we are kicking off this list with some recommendations from you guys. Starting with Diego, recommending Murder House. I haven't played this one yet, but I heard good things about it. As a local news team, we break into an abandoned house and are chased by a maniac. Murder House goes for the classic PS1 survival horror look and nails it. It's on my must playlist for a while now and I'll give it a try for sure. The second recommendation comes from Byte, who recommends Iron Fury. Since Duke Nukem 3D was one of my favorite childhood classics, I had to give Iron Fury a try as well. The cyberpunk look and old school shooter gameplay are perfect for a 90s nostalgia boost. Plus, you can find tons of secrets in all levels. Iron Fury is not as charming as Duke, but still a great throwback to old school shooters, and I had a blast with it. But now, let's kick off this list with Gungrave G.O.R.E. This is basically a PS2 game with better graphics. It's old school clunky and has so bad it's good voice acting, and for my PS2 nostalgia, I wouldn't have it any other way. Gungrave is a spectacular, over-the-top action fest with non-stop bullets and explosions. It oozes style and has an interesting combat system. The story is paper thin, and all you need to know is that you are back from the grave as the ultimate Sigma male, with a coffin on your back, a ton of weapons, and a thirst for vengeance. If you don't overthink it, you can have an absolute blast with Gungrave G.O.R.E. But sometimes it really felt like playing the resurrected corpse from the PS2 era of gaming. It's clunky at times and combined with the old school level design and repetitive gameplay becomes frustrating. So I suggest you start from easy mode and clear normal mode in New Game Plus with stronger weapons. Despite its shortcomings, there is something undeniable, enjoyable and nostalgic about Gungrave G.O.R.E.'s straightforward, no nonsense Gungrave style gameplay. But if you're looking for a more polished and well-rounded game, I suggest you give Young Souls a try. Young Souls is a hack and slash action game. We play as two rebellious twins who are sucked into an epic adventure. When we find out that under our hometown there is a secret underground world ruled by goblins, which means it's our turn to gear up and stop the goblin invasion by kicking those goons in their ugly butts. Young Souls has this Saturday morning cartoon vibe with a villain of the week, a good mix of unique characters and great banter between them all. With its cartoony art style, it really sells it as a whole package. When it comes to gameplay, the combat is satisfying and has easy to use combos. Juggling and parrying are always satisfying to pull off, and the boss fights were a huge highlight of the game and had me on the edge of my seat. This budget indie title outshines some recent AAA games with a great story and a very polished gameplay experience. It's a crime against humanity that Young Souls hasn't seen a widespread physical release. And while we're at the topic of crimes against humanity, the next game has a villain with some nasty plans. No More Heroes 3. The evil alien goon Fu, who could easily win every table soccer tournament, instead decided to aim for world domination. Good thing the bloodthirsty assassin otaku and main character of the series, Travis Touchdown, is ready for another ultra-violent guilt-free throwdown. Travis is like a brother from another mother. He's an irresponsible, well-trained nerd with a code of honor. Character traits I can really relate to. Using his beam katana for some bloody finishing moves while cracking one-liners is always a blast. And the setup for the story is top-notch with high-quality cutscenes and voice acting, mixed with the simple yet violently gratifying combat. which is no Ninja Gaiden, but it still hits all the right notes. But overall, No More Heroes 3 is the definition of a mixed bag for me. As a fan of the first two games, graphics and gameplay have been updated, but the open world is still as empty as in the first game. And having to collect money to participate in the next boss battle is still a pain in the butt. But my biggest personal flaw was the new enemy design. Most of the aliens have this weird retro style which I absolutely despise. It feels as if they took the edge off. I didn't connect with the story as much as I did with the first game, but you might feel different about it, and to be honest, I had a blast with the gameplay. So, to anyone who loves a funny, well-written, pulp fiction oriented story and bloody good hack and slash combat, go for it. Overall, it's an awesome experience that is living in the shadows of the two previous games. Good thing the next game on this list doesn't come with such a burden. Signalis. Fresh out of the cryo chamber, we explore a surreal retro-tech world and soon find out that something is really off there. And after playing the first half hour, I realized that this is going to be something special. I really missed this old school style of survival horror. Limited inventory, challenging puzzles, and fighting nightmarish creatures really did it for me. The story has enough that's easy to understand and follow the plot, but it has far more mystery and lore for you to piece together on your own. Similar to a game about a foggy town, it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. I highly recommend it if you crave a retro experience and are open-minded for something unique. If on the other hand you need some light-hearted classic retro goodness, check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This one is a party starter. Like your favorite pizza, Shredder's Revenge is an absolute must-have. A fun, nostalgia-fueled adventure that every fan of the Radical Dudes has to play. This game does what you expect of it. It throws tons of goons at us, provides some easy to learn and spammable combos, and lets us go wild. You can beat the game in a sitting and can still have more fun with it than you will with most 50-hour open world epics. If you're looking for a new game to play with your friends, make sure to give Shredder's Revenge a try. It's a must play. Thanks to its stellar combat and upbeat tone that makes it worth revisiting levels again and again. It's one of the best co-op experiences I had in a while. Like the next game on this list, the Ascent. Once again we ended up in a hazardous cyberpunk landfill, this time controlled by the Ascent group. After this corporate mega company mysteriously collapses, it's a free-for-all deathmatch for the lead, and we are in the middle of it as a no-name nobody. While the Ascent has a puddle-deep plot, it did enough for me to keep me playing. And what really hooked me was the flawless old-school top-down shooter gameplay. There is nothing more fun than gifting some augmented goons a new eyelet pattern on their gear and blasting rivaling gangs in this beautiful explosive spectacle. The aesthetics and impressive graphics even had me stopping in places just to admire its mind-blowing world design, which is putting some other AAA games to shame. I was really impressed how much stuff was going on in the background of the dystopian city streets while I unleashed carnage on some of these goons. You really feel like you are in a living and breathing dystopian city, and the amazing soundtrack really nails the dark and gritty all-digital future atmosphere. While I always struggle with myself before recommending digital-only games, for the Ascent I'm willing to make an exception. Still, it always makes me wonder what the world would look like in 20 years from now if nobody buys physical games anymore. Makes me really wonder.
My job sucks. I have a drink and get home and play some video games. Finally, time to play my online video games.
Citizen, you have no more government-issued online video game time left.
Oh, no. Sure wished I had listened to this gaming kick dude and bought some physical games on PlayAsia. Sure wished I had used his link in the description. It can be help guess it is time for my next 48-hour shift in the virtual coal mine sponsored by EA.
EA Games. Next up, we have Trek to Yomi. Personally, I have a weak spot for classic samurai games, and I'm glad we are seeing a revival in recent years. Trek to Yomi starts out as a pretty dark and gritty samurai tale. As a young swordsman, our dad gets killed, and a few years later, our village is overrun by crazy bandits. And then an hour in, it takes a supernatural turn. Overall, the story was pretty well done for a 3D side-scrolling hack and slash, with a few twists and turns along the way. While the hack and slash combat is simple, the pretty dope camera angles made it always look like we are making our way through a movie. And for a side-scrolling 3D game, it did a lot of gameplay and graphical changes during its runtime to keep things fresh. Unfortunately, there isn't enough diversity in enemy variety, but ultimately, if you want a brief, beautiful and brutal action game, you should certainly take this Trek to Yomi. If you want to trade in your medieval sword for a futuristic shotgun and blast your way through hordes of demons, then check out Prodeus. Let's make this clear, Prodeus is a retro Doomslayer power fantasy. Once the music kicked in and the gameplay got going, I was in the zone. You just absolutely obliterate goons in this game until the walls, floor, ceiling and even your hands and weapons are soaked in blood, while the soundtrack is pumping some metal guitar riffs. Prodeus isn't a thinking man's game. It's simple and pretty straightforward, and it's okay. Sometimes you just want to load your quad barrel super shotgun and blast an entire nation of hellspawn back where they belong. The gameplay and soundtrack are carrying Prodeus hard and making this a must-play title for retro shooter fans. Their generous checkpoint system and powerful weapons making it a bit too easy at times, and that's my only gripe with Prodeus. It's a bit too easy on medium difficulty, so I definitely recommend playing it on hard, a difficulty setting I wouldn't recommend for the next game on this list. Sifu. Sifu wants you to do one thing: get good, and it will kick your butt if you aren't trying. Sifu is challenging, brutal and at times extremely frustrating, but it's also an extremely rewarding game in an old school kind of way, not only through unlocking new abilities but through learning and understanding its mechanics. Learning different combos, different ways to block and improving your attack patterns gives you this long time rewarding dopamine rush, and it all comes with a nice twist. Every time you die, you age a bit, which is making your attacks a bit stronger but your health bar a bit shorter. It's a brilliant push to trigger your risk versus reward thinking skills. Combined with an old school kung fu story, fluid animations, tight controls and intuitive fighting, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. And I highly recommend following your urge to perfect levels, since it makes the later stages a lot easier. Since the game released, I've beaten every level without dying, just because it was so much damn fun to replay them over and over again and get better at every single run. Sifu is a gorgeous, original brawler whose super tight combat makes it one of the best games in recent history. Only topped by the #1 place on this list, Evil West. Evil West captures everything that makes gaming great for me, combining simple yet challenging, straightforward beat-em-up gameplay with some supernatural Wild West madness. In this battle, it's a monster hunting organization against vampiric goons threatening to run over America. As gruff badass Jesse Reindeer, we are out to kick those supernatural foes back into the underworld. Evil West is fun, frenetic, blood-soaked and testosterone-fueled action with some old school charm. The graphics and cutscenes are polished to a T, but the mission structure is very much of the old school PS3 era of gaming, which for me is a huge plus. The combat is a good mix of shooting with a western vampiric hack and slash twist, and has the right challenge to it. When you're mashing a 10-punch combo into a bloodsucker, explore mines, solve some light puzzles, and deal with demonic winged beasts, you lose yourself in this well-crafted game. Most impressive is how all of these components are balanced out so the game flows naturally from one encounter to the next, and before you know it, it's over. It has the perfect length of around 12 hours of playtime. Evil West stands as a unique cowboy title that hits a stride of its own, and all that's left to say is, hopefully we'll return to the lawless supernatural American frontier soon. And that's it, my dudes. These are my top 10 PS4 hidden gems for this video. Let me know in the comments down below which PS4 game you enjoyed in recent history. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.
It's only polite to accept an invitation to kick ass.
Kick ass!